Africa is third world. Africa is third world. Yet our wealth built you.
All 14 of these African countries together pay a colonial tax to France, which amounts to $500 billion. You heard that right. $500 billion to France, to the French government. Can you believe that?
Africa is third world. Africa is third world. Yet our wealth built you.
You guys know that 14 African countries still pay a colonial tax to France? 14 African countries still pay a tax for being colonized by the French. And you know how much that tax is? $500 billion a year taken from 14 African countries by the freaking French. And the reason that they take this money is because they built infrastructure and buildings and the resources that they brought to Africa. It's payback for the colonization that they did. We brought resources to you, we brought infrastructure to you, we brought civilization to you, so now you have to pay us back for it. If any of these African nations refuse to do it, they mysteriously get a coup in their government and militant groups pop up everywhere. They had to sign a pact for this. And do you want to know what's included in that pact? Number one, the reason that the pact exists is to impose the colonial tax so that the African countries can pay back for the infrastructure that was brought to them from the French colonization. And then this is the part that pisses me off to no end. The reason that they get that $500 billion a year from these African countries is because they force these African countries to deposit their bank reserves into the French ministry, and the French government invests those funds into the French market, and only they know the return of whatever amount comes back as returns. And it's estimated that it's $500 billion, and they don't give any of that money back to these African countries. And because the money is in banks that are controlled by the French, these African countries that deposited their monies into these French banks have to ask the French government for permission to take their money out. And once they take their money out, it is considered a loan that they have to pay interest on. And on top of that, they can only buy their military equipment from France. They have to allow French presence in their country, and the French military can invade these countries at any point if they feel that the French interest in these countries is threatened at all. And this part, all minerals available and yet to be discovered, France has the first right of refusal in these 14 countries. And all contracts, public or private, French companies have the first right of refusal. The French government is considered one of the wealthiest in the world, because they built their wealth on the backs of African countries and forced this colonial tax where they're getting $500 billion a year for nothing other than colonizing these countries.